Hey everybody, what's going on? This is your boy Cherokee from SeaTac Vacations and Cherokee Edwards Inspires. Well, first thing I want to do is thank you guys for subscribing and for following me. My goal is to nourish yourself, to give you inspirational nourishment. I'll be coming on here every week on Fridays or Saturdays, Fridays and Saturdays. So if you miss me on Friday, check me out on Saturday about 5:30 p.m. And each week I'm going to talk about a topic that I feel like we need, something that I may have studied or went through myself. And one thing I want to do is teach you, especially young people, how to rise up in this troublesome time that we're living in right now. One thing I want to talk about today is fear and how we deal with fear. First of all, I want you to realize that fear is false evidence appearing real. False evidence appearing real. Now, there are some very, very real fears as well, or things of concern that we're going through. One thing that I want to say that we should be fearful of or mindful of is we have the power and ability to change our circumstances. There's a lot of things that have happened in the past that we have no control over. One thing you're seeing right now, the embodiment of the youth, the embodiment of the millennials coming out in droves and coming together for a voice. And this is all nationalities. So when we start talking about fear, let's talk about things that we fear. We fear public speaking. We fear standing up for somebody who's weaker because of what somebody might think of you. We fear having our own opinion because somebody thinks it's stupid, it's crazy. Well, I want to tell you something. If somebody doesn't accept you for being you, then they're truly not accepting you for being somebody else either. These are the things that has to come out. I want to teach everybody to teach someone. We need to reach someone, and we need to sit back and say to ourselves, what are we afraid of? I hear people say all the time, I'm afraid I'm not going to be able to pay my bills. And I will say, well, why are you afraid you won't be able to pay your bills? And they'll say, well, we got laid off on our job. And I say, I get that. I understand. Bills got to be paid. You got a family you got to take care of. What I would rather you do instead of worrying about things you cannot control is I'd rather see you say, let me grab a book, a pad, a pen, and a calculator. Let me calculate my bills. Let me calculate what it is I need to live on month to month, year to year. And think of something that you truly enjoy doing, something that you would do if you had $1 million. If you had millions of dollars, you hit the lottery, and you had millions to work with, would you still do the job that you actually get paid to do? One thing that wealthy people know that, I don't want to say broke people. I want to say, less fortunate, or we can actually say poor, right? There's a disparity in education. Now, one thing that Steve Jobs said, which I agree with 100%, he said, never let your schooling interfere with your education. And what that means is there are people that have college degrees. There are people that go to school for years and years and years, right? And then when they come out, they owe all this money. They're so deep in debt, they can't even pay attention, right? And then you got somebody that has this incredible amount of willpower. They just won't stop. No matter what happens, they will not stop. And they realize that when the why is great enough, the facts don't matter. The simple understanding about the why, that's your reason that you need to be successful. These are the things that happen to great financial giants. They don't work for hourly pay, and one of the things that they definitely don't do is they don't trade their time for money. And that's what the employees of America do. We trade our time for money. Well, in 2008, I broke away from the mainstream of the resort sales and created the SeaTac Corporation, SeaTac Cherokee Edwards Travelers Advantage Club. And SeaTac Vacations was formed so it takes care of people that the resorts truly don't want to take care of. And that's a niche. You find a niche and you say, you know what? I wonder if people really feel like this is something they want. And I asked these questions dating all the way back to 2000. Well, I've been in the industry since 1999, so this is my 21st year in it. When I started off, I was only 25 years old, so I was a very young guy. I was in an industry that was dominated by older people and a different nationality. So I had all the reasons to allow myself to fail. But I wanted to make sure that the world knew that I came from a queen. And my queen was my mother. So one of the things that I want to tell you is she became my why. She became my reason I needed to be successful. My father taught me a lot too. When I was very young, he made sure I read books, I studied. I was great in math. That was a big thing. He was an engineer, so he didn't play around. He was big on numbers. He wanted to make sure I could count my own money so I wouldn't get cheated. My mother taught me compassion. She taught me to how to love others, how to help somebody weaker than myself. And also the magic thing that I learned is, if I wanted to give her something, or anybody for that matter, I need to have it first. So if you say you want to give your children a better life, and this is the reason that you work at the job you work at that you just got let go of, right? Or you got furloughed or whatever it might be. Think about this. Your children are your why. Your wife is your why. Your husband is your why. Your family is your why, right? Okay, if the why is great enough, the facts don't matter. Remember I said that earlier? Well, the reason that I said that is the why is the family. So the fact that you lost your job doesn't matter. You still got to pay your bills. You still got to be able to put food on the table, right? So think about this. Associate yourself with like-minded people. Stop looking for excuses for why you don't have something, and let's look for reasons that we could have whatever we want. The drama that's going on in the world, let's pull these young people aside. Let's pull our communities aside, and let's really tell them how special they are. You know, I understand the protests and a lot of things are going on to say that very word, but we need to understand that we're special beyond protests, before protests. We shouldn't let drama happen before we start saying that we are meaningful in this world and society. We need to protect each other, all nationalities. You know, I hear two things in the fear factor. Black lives matter. And then you hear another side say, well, all lives matter. The simple understanding of this is no one is saying that all lives don't matter when they say Black lives matter. What they're saying is Black lives also matter. And that's something that has to be understood. You can't be so short-sighted that you're looking for loopholes as to prove why something is going on, whether it's the protesting, whether it's people losing their lives, which is the reason for the protesting, But you can demand respect. It's something that I've learned when I was young, growing up in Philadelphia. You don't have to ask for respect. You can demand it. And one thing that I've learned is respect carries more weight than love. You can love somebody and not respect them. You can respect someone and not love them. So if you had to have one or the other, I think respect will carry you a lot further. It would be nice to be loved by people you respect and that respect you. But if you have to have one or the other, I think you're probably going to see that respect is a little bit stronger. We're living in very trying times. We're living in sad situations are happening, things that our generation never thought we would see. We heard about it back in the 60s and what happened back, Martin Luther King, Malcolm X, Medgar Evers, all these beautiful leaders that lost their lives, really, so we could have an opportunity to own a company, to be an executive. We can't stop having that dream. When you're given this kind of time, the pandemic, which is a terrible thing in itself, keeps you at home. I get it. But what you would want to do is you want to have a pad, a pen, and a calculator. And I want you to write down things that you know you would love to do if money was not an object. Whatever that is, You have time to create a business. You have time to say, this is what I want to do for the rest of my life. Because what we have to do is learn how to monetize that which you do well. God gave you a gift that he didn't give anybody else. You do something better than anybody else in the world. And when you find out what that is, you're free. The moment you say, it's time. There's no reason to fear. And there's nothing to fear except fear itself. So believe me, my brothers and sisters, of all walks of life, together we can achieve more. That's the acronym for the word team. Together, T, we achieve E, more. So T-E-A-M, team. Together, everyone achieves more. Work together. Find a team that you can attach yourself to. And watch what happens. But they need to be positive. There's too much negativity out here. Another thing that I want to tell you, use your own brain. Stop letting people tell you how you should think. Do your own homework on it. Before you speak about something, learn. Study it. So you can have an educated conversation on it. There's things that I want to talk to you about, and the Cherokee Edwards Inspires brings all of that to fruition, right? I do a lot of things, anywhere from teaching, from coaching, business, professional, and I do speaking events and teaching. But the mindset is so important. If your mind is right, everything else will fall into place. Let each one teach one, so we all reach one. We need our youth to understand that they're important. We need to show them, those of us that can do it, that they're worth it. They're worth it. You're worth it. You're better than anybody thinks you are. Even the people that think you're great, they don't know how great you can be. You can be greater than anything they can imagine. But you need to be the best version of yourself. You have to be the best version of yourself. Put that on display. Change your circumstances. If you didn't come from a rich family must come from you. Simple, but it's not easy. It's simple, but it's not easy. I wrote a book called The Champion Within. Life is simple. It's just not easy. And in that book, I do talk about strategies to free yourself. I slept in a car for 3 months back in 99. But before the year 1999 was over, from the month of June to December, I made $132,000. I was on pace to make $40,000 at Circuit City. We know how that turned out. Circuit City went belly up back then in 99, 2000. This is something that everybody needs to understand. We can't do this alone. We need to surround ourselves with greatness. You are already great. You just have to find it. You just have to find it. And you're going to have so many distractions. There's so many distractions. Hey, look over here while something else is happening over here. Hey, look over here while something great is happening over here. It's waiting for you. It's waiting for you. Your greatness is already set. You just have to find it. It's not the skill of the man. It's the will of the man. And ladies, obviously, you know I'm talking to you too. Nothing works without you. Men, we got to respect our queens. We got to respect our princesses. We have to let our little girls know that they're valuable beyond measure. We got to let them know. And you know how you let them know? You treat their mothers like queens and let these young ladies know your time is coming. When we have our little boys, these are princes, right? We have to teach a prince how to grow into a king. You're not born king. You're born as a prince. But that means, ladies, Treat the men that are deserving as a king. Men, act like you deserve it. Act like you're supposed to have it. Tell yourself, convince your mind that you are great beyond measure, because the mind doesn't know the difference between a lie and the truth. So whatever you put into your mind and feed it and feed it and feed it, that's what it believes it is. If you tell yourself you're a superstar over and over and over and over again, at some point in time, you're going to be a superstar. Now, the big question is, are you ready for stardom? Are you ready to pay it forward? Those of you that have been blessed, given opportunity, understood the opportunity, seized the moment. Are you ready, willing, and able to pay it forward? And not for personal gain that comes back to you, but because you want to see the world a better place. I served this country in Desert Storm. I served 4 years in the Navy. I don't put my flag up. I'm not really proud of America right now. I'm not proud of what I've seen with the armed forces, being used to push back protesters that are peaceful. Armed forces are not there as a personal guard, but we're the guardian of the nation. We fight, we bleed, we die for what we believe in, the Constitution of America. So when you hear the Pledge of Allegiance, I pledge allegiance for which it stands. These words are supposed to mean something. Under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. That's the end of it, but that is the most powerful part of it. Under God, with liberty and justice for all. We have to free each other. We have to care enough to do what it takes. When the why is great enough, the facts don't matter. And when you care enough, you'll do enough. Let each one teach one, so we all reach one. There is no fear. Focus on good. And bad thoughts don't really have time to enter your world. Well, I love you guys. And I thank you guys for getting on and listening to me rant about how I feel about what's going on. It took me a while. As much as the speaking engagements I do, I speak to a lot of young people. And if you guys are watching this, I want you to keep your head up. And I want you to remember, if you can look up, you can get up. If you knew better, you do better. We need to vote. Remember, this has nothing to do with Democrat, Republican. This has everything to do with our life. This has nothing to do with politics. Vote for the right person. You know what you see for the last 4 years. You know what you see. And I'm not trying to push you one way or the other because I'm not a politician. And I'm not on here to do that. But remember, guys, we only get one world. This is the one we get. You only get one life. This is the one you get. What you gonna do with it? Please. Love you. God bless. Don't forget to subscribe. I'll see you soon.